And now an important message from the CCDC.
Hello, I am Dr. Fulashit with the CCDC, and today I have an important message for you, how to check if your car has COVID-19. The truth is, I have no clue, so let's vaccinate. We have to put the vaccine in the syringe. Thankfully, since this is a car, it doesn't have to be clean and sterile. I'm not even wearing gloves. That's probably close enough, 0.6. Might could get away with 0.5. And then we give it the shot. Now this car is vaccinated from COVID-19.
Today I wanted to tell you who is WJ Handy Dad. So first of all, you may notice I'm wearing a suit today, and it's actually my first time going back to court since 2019. You know, with the COVID pandemic, most of the courts were shut down, and so we haven't had any in-person court in that long. So I'm headed back for the first time, see how it goes. But I haven't always been handy. In fact, I grew up very not handy. Neither of my parents were handy, so I didn't get the opportunity to, you know, sit with Dad and watch him fix things or whatever. I had to learn everything on my own. My parents were the type to always hire somebody to do everything, from the smallest jobs to the biggest jobs. And so when I got old enough to have my own car and things like that, I was not able to do anything on them either. And what I learned, you know, as time went on, I probably got taken advantage of, just like most folks get taken advantage of sooner or later. You know, you take your vehicle or your house needs work or whatever. You know, there's lots of honest folks out there that aren't going to take advantage of you, but obviously there are some that will sell you things you don't need, or sell you things that they don't actually do because they know it doesn't need to be done, but you don't know any different. So because of that, that was kind of my motivation to start learning things. And you know, along the way I earned 3 different college degrees, including my doctoral degree. But despite earning all those degrees, I somehow found time to learn how to do things on the cars, and then eventually on houses and stuff too. And it was mostly self-taught, reading, you know, Chilton books and Haynes books and things like that. And then every once in a while I'd have a friend that would know how to do something and kind of watch them and learn or whatever. But you know, initially I was very reluctant to do a lot of work. You know, I was always afraid of breaking something, and I didn't have all the tools starting out either, and that definitely makes a big difference. You know, so over time I would buy, you know, a socket wrench, jack, you know, wrenches. Then, you know, as time went on and start trying to tackle more and more complicated jobs, you start buying more tools or whatever. And now I've got a pretty good mechanic level set of tools. The most crazy thing I've done is remove cylinder heads from an engine and put them back on successfully, you know, change a head gasket, that sort of thing. I've never actually removed an engine from a car, and I've never removed a transmission from a car. Never rebuilt a transmission. Never changed a clutch. Just about every type of electrical work that can be done on a vehicle, I've probably done it. So really, I started out doing auto detailing. That was kind of my first passion, if you will. I always liked having a really shiny car. Love the shiny tires. For a while there, when I was in college, I was even having people pay me to detail their cars. And when you're a starving student, that's a great thing. Somebody gives you $40 or whatever, and you wash and detail their car. Back when I was in college, that was decent money. Nowadays, I'm guessing it's probably 5 times that much. And I put in a lot of hours detailing folks' cars for that small amount of money. I was probably making sometimes less than minimum wage because I was very OCD and perfectionist about things, and so I wouldn't just stop. But of course, I wasn't as skilled as I am arguably now. But I did a decent job. The first ever mechanical, if you want to call it that, repair I ever did was changing the air filter in my first car. And that was like a big deal. And I laugh now, basically turn the wing nut, and lift the cover off, and put the new air filter in. Like I said, I was so unhandy back then, that was a major deal for me to accomplish, and the car started after I was done. But sadly, that was the only thing I ever did with that car. It never had an oil change, it never had any kind of maintenance whatsoever. I literally drove it until they said it would be more expensive to fix it than to trade it in and buy a new one. Now, who knows? Like I said, I didn't have the automotive knowledge back then to know, so I just took their word for it or whatever. But it got to the point where it probably needed a new clutch, or maybe just an adjustment of the clutch. But basically, the clutch was slipping so much that you couldn't really start on a hill or anything. Give you an idea how old that vehicle was. It was a 4-speed manual. It probably had somewhere around 50 horsepower, maybe. I don't know. And it was fine for me at the time. Being a teenager, I didn't need a lot more horsepower. But until I went to police academy, and then I actually got to drive on the DPS test track, believe it or not, after all that. That's where I feel like I really learned how to drive, how to handle a car, kind of start thinking not just defensive driving, but also kind of offensive driving, After I was done with all of that schooling that I went through, I started having more time to work on things or whatever. When you first get out of school, you're usually broke. So you have to pretty much fix everything yourself. So I just started learning, more and more complex repairs over time. And then once I had kids, I really wanted them to learn what I had learned so they wouldn't have to go through that. So I really wanted them to work with me and learn with me. But unfortunately, they are the generation that doesn't do that. They learn everything from YouTube and the internet. So my older son suggested that I do a YouTube channel, and I'd heard of YouTube, but I didn't know much about it. And but I went ahead and filmed my first video holding the camera with one hand and working with the other, and I think that video is absolutely terrible, but it's got over 1 million views, and it's my #1 video, and it's, even to this day, it's usually my #1 or #2 most watched video in a particular day. So apparently people like it. If I had it to do over again, I would definitely do it over again and do it differently. I mean, it has mistakes in it, and like I said, it's definitely home quality, but apparently people liked it. And then the channel just kind of took off from there, because not only was I making videos, I was watching videos, and so I started learning more and more from watching other people's videos, which gave me the confidence to do more than what I had done before, and then also learning about different tools and things. So I started buying more tools, and at some point between school and now, you had things like Amazon and Harbor Freight pop up to where you could get less expensive tools for the home DIY person that would get the job done for you or me. Maybe not if you had a commercial garage, but I don't have a commercial garage, and so I don't need that level of tool. And most of the Harbor Freight and Amazon tools have been fine for me. Anyway, that's kind of a brief history of how all this got started. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions.
This just in, CDC guidelines now suggest a second COVID-19 vaccine shot in the gas.